It was the early 90s, and there was an unrest in the West Coast city due to the upcoming elections. A young man named Harold lived in West Coast with his pregnant wife and 2 daughters. Due to this unrest, it was becoming difficult to live in the city, as immigrants were being killed. Many immigrants had to return back to their countries due to the harsh treatment they got from the West Coastians. Harold, who was an immigrant, was working in one of the prestigious banks in West Coast City and couldn't leave his job. But to protect his family, he had to send his wife and kids back to his hometown in the East Country to stay with his mother Harriet. Harriet never liked Harold's wife because she had female children and no male child, but now with the pregnancy, she expected the child to be a boy. So she allowed Claudia, Harold's wife, to come live with her. Claudia went into hard labor one Wednesday morning, on August 18, 1993. She was taken to a nearby hospital to be delivered of her child. Her labor was so intense and the doctors tried for hours to no avail. Claudia was already out of breath, and the doctor decided to quickly conduct a cesarean session on Claudia to save her life and the baby's life. Hours had gone by, and finally the cry of a child was heard from the ward, but Claudia was so tired and out of breath that she passed out. Harriet, who was in the theater during the procedure, quickly checked to see the gender of the child, and when she saw it was a girl, she immediately became furious and hated the child and mother. Instantly, she took the child from the doctor and paid the doctor a huge sum to not stitch Claudia back up so that Claudia would lie there in the hospital. The doctor, on collecting the money from Harriet, left Claudia in the hospital unstitched, took her to an isolated ward and locked her up there, and resigned from the hospital so that he would not be caught. When Claudia regained consciousness, she realized that she had been left to die, but she couldn't scream for help as her bowels were still open, making it difficult for her to stand or call out for help. She was helpless and in pain and couldn't even see her child with her. Harriet, on the other hand, took the young child, put her in a basket and took her to the dangerous woods. She left her there in the woods to be eaten up by wild beasts. The young child cried every day and every night for days, without food, water, or clothes. She was at the verge of dying by starvation. Somehow the beasts of the field didn't take notice of the child, but starvation and the cold were the child's death warrant. Harriet, out of hatred, had not only separated a mother from her child, but was about to not just kill mother, but child too. Beatrice, Claudia's mother, lived on the other side of town. She had heard that Claudia had given birth and was in the hospital in Harriet's hometown. Excited, she left to visit the hospital, but on getting there, she was told that Claudia had not been admitted to the hospital, as there was no record of Claudia being admitted there. Perplexed, she pressed and pressed for answers as to where Claudia was admitted, as that was the only hospital in the neighborhood. The nurses claimed that they were not aware of any records of Claudia being admitted. Beatrice became very worried. She called Claudia's phone, but it went to a voicemail response. She then went to Harriet's house to see if Claudia or the baby was there, but to her surprise, the house was shut as though no one had ever lived there. Harriet, Claudia, and the baby were nowhere to be found. She tried calling Harold, but his number was not reachable as well. By this time, Beatrice was so tense that she started becoming sick. She went to the police station to make a report, but due to her vague explanation, there was really nothing to give the police evidence to search the hospital or even look for Harriet. On leaving the station, a young boy told her he had seen Harriet 4 days ago, going into the woods with a basket in her hand. He motioned towards the direction he remembered her going into, and asked her to check for Harriet there, thinking something bad might have happened to her. Beatrice immediately thanked the young boy and hurried into the woods. It was already getting late, and the woods are quite dangerous at night, but she was determined to find Harriet. So she went on. She searched and searched for hours, but couldn't find anyone, until she heard the sound of a crying baby just ahead. As she ran, she fell over a log and her ankle twisted. She had broken her ankle and was in so much pain, but she was determined. She stood up and limped to where the baby was, and she saw the young child crying in the basket. lean and pale, her voice was going faint. Miraculously, the child was still alive, and Beatrice recognized the child as the baby in the basket the boy was talking about. Beatrice cried and hugged the child, rocked the child to sleep, and took the child home. She set the fireplace, wrapped the child in a warm blanket, prepared warm milk, and fed the child. She had so much pity on the child, and she wept, imagining the horrors she must have gone through these 4 days in the woods. Beatrice still doesn't know the whereabouts of Claudia or Harriet, and the police was not helping her either. Over at the hospital, a new nurse who didn't know about Claudia was passing by the hallway and saw a locked ward. She had seen this door locked and had noticed that no one ever goes to that room. So she became curious. She went to the door and put her ears on the door, as if she was trying to listen to something. At first, it was all silence, but then she heard a soft moan from the room as if someone was in pain. Surprised, she went to the jar where all room keys were kept and stole the key to that particular door. When she opened the door, behold, Claudia was in the room, covered and pale, and about to die. She ran to Claudia, removed the cloth which was used to cover her, and saw the devastating state that Claudia was left in. And she wept in pity for Claudia.